Nick Bosa, the contract. What's the details? Or people are kind of freaking out. I heard someone on Twitter say something about um, him potentially signing on the 10th from an inside source, but it was kind of like a not verified account. What's the details?
Well, the details are that he's going to make about 30 to 33 million. I think somewhere in there could be more if he has serious leverage, but I think the sweet spot is right around 33 million. It's going to be a monster deal, and I really don't think this is about anything about money. I don't believe that for the slightest. They've had plenty of time to feel each other out, so to speak, and get an idea of what Nick's looking for and what the market bears, and have all the back and forth they want to have. It's not like they've got 19 different guys that they have to deal with holding out. This is the guy. This is the guy. They've been talking about this for a long, long time. I really believe the 49ers want to minimize their risk. And I tweeted out today that I hope the 49ers don't sign Nick Bosa until at least August the 15th. If you're telling me August the 10th, I can live with that. But I'd say even beyond that, August the 15th. Why? Because these are the teams, this is the Niners' other defensive ends. Drake Jackson, Robert Beal Jr., Clelin Ferrell, Austin Bryant, Kerry Hyder, Daryl Johnson, and Alex Barrett. So, I mean, Drake is a nice player. Beal's a decent prospect. The rest of those guys are just guys. I like Kerry Hyder. He's kind of a jack of all trades, tackle / end. But, I mean, Clelin Ferrell, Austin Bryant, Daryl Johnson, Alex Barrett, there's guys like this all over the league. The Niners' Super Bowl chances drop dramatically without Nick Bosa. And so I'm doing videos, every day on the good and the bad of the training camp, each and every day. And the best thing that happened today was that Nick Bosa didn't get hurt and is not out for the year. That's the best thing that happened today. Nobody wants to admit that, but that's the truth. Nick Bosa did not get hurt today, is not out for the year, and that is a huge positive. The Niners' Super Bowl chances drop like a stone if Bosa goes down. The Vegas odds would drop dramatically on the Niners if Bosa's done for the year. I don't want to risk injury in July. I don't want to risk injury when the Niners play the Raiders in Vegas in those practices next week or in the game. I don't want to see Nick Bosa going down in the preseason. I understand the difference between being in shape and being in football shape. That's why he's got to play some. But you want to minimize this. The reality is tomorrow's a padded practice. And anytime you walk out on that football field and you put on the pads, or even if you don't, you can be done for the year. Why would you take a chance in July on being done for the year? Sean McVay doesn't play his guys at all in the preseason and just says, you know what, if they're going to be rusty week 1, I'll trade that off for having them healthy at the beginning of the year. I think it's super smart. You minimize the injury risk by keeping him out of the early action. What's the ups? Why would you not want a guy holding out? I mean, if you say, what's the downside of holding out? Well, maybe the guy comes in and he's not in football shape. Is Nick Bosa not going to be in football shape? Of course not. He's always in football shape. He's in the best shape of anybody on the entire team on the defensive side of the ball. This guy is known for his conditioning. He's lifting, he's running, he's doing stuff. Now, you can always slow play him at the beginning of his reporting. So you get him out there on the 15th of August, you let him ramp it up. Realistically, what does he need? Yeah, I mean, Cheeseball says it best here. Bosa is in shape 365 days a year. He absolutely is. The only bad things can happen for Nick Bosa in this part of the year. You can't win the Super Bowl on July the 30th. You can't win the Super Bowl on July the 27th. To me, this is an overwhelming positive that he's not playing. He's going to report sometime in August. The later, the better. And I don't even care if he misses all of preseason. Doesn't matter to me. Get him out there. Get him some reps in practice, and get him ready for the season. But he doesn't need a lot of reps. I just saw the guy in minicamp. He's in awesome shape. He's in the prime of his career. So if you get to a situation where you're leaning on Austin Bryant and Daryl Johnson to rush the passer, you have a problem, a major, major problem. If you're leaning, the other day, I'm looking at the number ones. It was Drake on the outside, Armstead and Hargrave inside, and Alex Barrett on the outside opposite Drake. That's how thin they are at defensive end. Do not risk Nick Bosa in late July. Do not risk Nick Bosa in early August. Do not have Nick Bosa showing up and having Raider, guys who are trying to make the Raiders 53-man, chopping him at the knees. Hell to the no. No, not doing it. It's not smart. I don't want him in that Raider game. Whoever they play in that second preseason game, I don't want him in that game either. The ideal time to sign would be the days leading up into the third preseason game. Give him 2 or 3 practices. If he wants to play in the preseason game, let him. If he's not a safety, he's not an inside backer. He doesn't need to be there. He's an edge rusher who burns the edge and sacks the quarterback. The Niners won the Super Bowl in 1981. They had Fred, or was it? I guess it was, 81. They had Fred Dean signed in like week 11. I mean, it does not matter if he's there in July or early August. What matters is he's there for the Super Bowl. What matters is he's there for the Eagles in the NFC Championship game, that he's there for the playoffs, that he's there when it really matters. Now, it matters week 1, but it doesn't matter in the preseason, and it sure as hell doesn't matter now. So, all these people, I've heard people say, today was the 4th day of practices. There's no sign of Bosa. He's not expected to report to camp, obviously, without a new contract. That's never going to happen. Mayoko reported that. Kyle Shanahan was asked about it today. He said, I haven't heard anything, so no updates there. That is a great thing. We don't want to see Bosa until the middle of August. All right. I've had my say.
Him holding out, he knows there's no one else. He's going to get more money. You never know what's going on. They might be negotiating still. He knows that he has a ton of leverage in this situation. So a deal's going to be done, though, because they can't afford not to have him.
Oh, yeah. And this idea that people are like, well, somebody's like, trade him in a Herschel Walker trade. What are you, high? I mean, come on. As soon as you trade him, you're going to be looking for him. You need him. You need him badly. Let me ask you this. Why do you think NFL teams don't sign players until the first day they report? Because they are trying to minimize their risk. Because there's risk walking around in everyday life. And so they wait till right until the reporting date to sign these guys because they're trying to minimize their risk. And the Niners would be very smart. Last year you had Samson Ebukam. Last year you had Jordan Willis. Last year you had Charles Omenihu. Last year you had a rotation of NFL caliber, above average edge rushers. And if you lost Bosa, it was a nightmare, but it wasn't game over. This year you lose Bosa, I think you're up a creek. Or you're going to have to go make a trade and trade draft picks. Or you're going to have to go sign somebody. I mean, I don't see, outside of Drake, I don't see defensive ends in this camp that they can go with as starters and really be a Super Bowl contender. And I guarantee you, if John Lynch was held to a lie detector test, he would agree with me. So what does that mean? That means pickle jar Bosa until the middle of August.